I don't think I can govern your nation, Quackity, he said softly. I appreciate the respect you must have for me to put me in a position of power, but I just don't think my reputation would grant anyone the peace of mind you're looking for. I'd still be president, Quackity replied. But then I'd have to be behind the scenes. What trust could people put in the government if that comes out? You wouldn't be behind the scenes. What do you mean? Wilbur breathed, the words falling off his tongue and landing into a short silence. You'd be a figurehead as much as I, Quackity spoke slowly. We'd work together. You'd want another coalition? Wilbur asked. Big Q, I think if I were to be in power, I'd want to rule alone. Rule? There was a further pause. Quackity seemed just as confused as Wilbur for a moment before his eyes lit up and he chuckled. Oh, oh God, no, Wilbur, you wouldn't rule us Nevadas. Wilbur's humbled expression began to fade. You'd be my vice president. Suddenly, the world came to an end, right in front of them. The words dropped like a guillotine, which sliced the entire SMP into two perfect halves. What a coincidence that the apocalyptic guillotine seemed to strike perfectly in the center of Wilbur's skull. And what a coincidence that only Wilbur seemed to see or feel it happen. That's what you brought me here for, Wilbur replied shakily, trying to contain his rage. You deem me a vice president? I deem you a qualified leader, yes, Quackity replied calmly. Do you understand how insulting your charity attempt is? I don't think it's insulting. Don't forget, I was once a vice president, Quackity chuckled. Yeah, well, I couldn't stoop that low. Wilbur slammed his fist on the table and stood up. Wilbur, you forget yourself, Quackity spat. Ha! Wilbur replied, mocking Quackity's intonation. Wilbur, you forget yourself. Quackity, you forget where you stand next to me. You are in my shadow. Act like it. Quackity's eyes furrowed. Wilbur continued. Maybe it's not a coincidence that every single idea you've ever had has failed under your guidance. He spoke his next sentence slowly, one word at a time. You are a walking second-place medal. And yet you are the one who lost an election, even when you tried to rig it, Quackity snapped back, like a whip. Almost as soon as he'd finished his last word, Wilbur was struck out of his rage. Get out of my nation. You're kicking me out? Yes, leave. There was a pause. Wilbur glanced around the restaurant, taking in everything he could before his ejection. How about we organise a way for me to lead a branch of your government? Wilbur seemed to be begging. Quackity was unmoved. Any more words used on you would be a waste of both our time. Look, Quackity, you're a smart man, Quackity snapped. If you really valued my intelligence, you wouldn't need to remind me. I'll be out of your hair. You won't ever have to think about me again. I don't think about you at all, Quackity replied, and Wilbur's face plummeted. A silence fell across the room, only to be broken by a gentle squeak of the rotating cogs. Quackity shattered the silence like ice. Oh, Wilbur, how relaxing it must be to have a mind unburdened by embarrassment.